Today we get to dive right in and talk about Chandler, Arizona. Now, Chandler is a part of this whole east side sweep that I've been telling you about. We've covered Mesa, we've covered Queen Creek, talked about Gilbert, but of course now we need to chat about Chandler because Chandler is actually the fourth largest city in Arizona, and it's right between, on the east side is Gilbert, and on the west side of Chandler is Ahwatukee. Now, you're not going to find the city called Ahwatukee anywhere on the map. We call it Ahwatukee, but really it's a southernmost part of the Greater Phoenix area. So the Ahwatukee area is very desirable and sought after. We'll have to do a totally different video on that, but those addresses are technically Phoenix. Now on the north side of Chandler, we kind of cut off right around Elliott, maybe a couple trickle right up to Guadalupe, because just past that, we're into Mesa. Now remember from prior videos, Mesa is massive. Mesa's like, I think it's the 36th largest city in the United States, so it's very, very big. And then on the south side, we run into what's called Hunt Highway. And Hunt Highway, after that, it gets very deserty, rural. There was nothing out there for years and years and years. And just recently, in the last year or so, a new casino was built out there. Yes, we have casinos everywhere here in Arizona. I kind of forget about them. I'm not really into gambling myself. If I'm going to a casino, it's because I just want to go see a show or something along those lines, but we just don't do it very often. But we have several casinos in the East Valley that, if that's your thing, we have those for entertainment as well. Now, sometimes people say, well, what about this Sun Lakes area? What's up with that? Because Sun Lakes is right smack in the most southern, western little chunk or corner of Chandler. Now, here's the deal. They're a little bit different. They are unincorporated, meaning they're not part of the city of Chandler. So they actually have their own Sun Lakes address. Sun Lakes also happens to be an active adult community. So they have their own setup for just about everything. They've got their own golf course. Many of their homes are in gated communities. They have everything from modular style homes in their very, very early part of their homes, all the way up to standard single family built homes and a little bit of everything in between. So as of the recording of this video, there are 578 listings live in Chandler, but that does not include the 141 listings that are available just in the Sun Lakes community. So a little bit different. It's kind of weird in our minds. We all think Sun Lakes is basically Chandler. Location wise, yeah, but they are very clear about that. If you talk to someone who lives in Sun Lakes and you say, oh, you're in Chandler? Oh, no, you're not. They are in Sun Lakes. So let's dive into the Chandler area. Let's cover some demographics for the Chandler area. So the median age is 38 years old and the average household's about $140,000. What does Chandler have to offer? Well, they have a lot of commercial and tech businesses. So some big name businesses that have brought a lot of employees to the area that you probably very well recognize would be like Wells Fargo, PayPal, Boeing, CVS, Walgreens, General Motors, Bank of America, Intel, Honeywell. There are more than 30 companies on the 2024 Fortune 1000 that either have divisions or headquarters based in Chandler, Arizona. And part of that is, the weather. Of course, that's a huge draw for a lot of people that are looking for that warmer weather. Of course, we have the extreme heat in the summer, but the rest of the year, it's pretty darn amazing. And then we do have activities. We have the downtown Chandler area, which has a ton of activities and dining and shopping. So you're going to see things like our multicultural festival. There's a Unity Walk. There's a Stomp. If you don't know what Stomp is, it's this huge award-winning percussion performance that's put on that's just fascinating. And then Drumline. Can you tell I enjoy the musical parts of things? Drumline comes to town and performs here as well in Chandler. And then they have farmers markets downtown. They have Tesla charging stations so that you can charge your car while you're enjoying, the outdoor events and activities. So we really enjoy heading to downtown Chandler. Now, the housing around the downtown Chandler area is very specific, a little bit different than what you'll see in the rest of the Chandler area. The housing around the downtown Chandler area can be anywhere from 30s houses to 50s to 1970s. It's a much older housing product where you'll often still see things like 3-bedroom, 1-bath. You won't see a 1-bathroom home in most of the other parts of Chandler. A lot of those houses in the downtown area also have no HOA, as well as they'll have, for example, a carport but not a garage. May or may not be for you. We have people that love the no HOA. They love the proximity to the downtown Chandler events. But we have other folks that, they want some extra bathrooms, they're okay with an HOA, and they want a much newer home. So we'll talk about some of those other homes later in this video. Before I talk about some other areas of housing in Chandler, let's talk about the water, because we hear all the time people are moving here from other states. They've seen headlines, they've heard things, and they think that there is no water left, or they're fearful of purchasing a home because they think that home will be worth nothing in 10 years because of a water crisis. And the ironic part is I've actually, I've lived here for almost 20 years, and I've never even seen a water regulation put in place. Like, you hear about in other states like California, you can only water your lawns on Tuesdays and Thursdays, things like that. I've never seen that here in Arizona, and I've always lived on the east side in the East Valley. So Chandler has done a number of things. Of course, first and foremost, for any new build housing that's happening in Chandler, they have to show proof of a 100-year assured water supply. But then they have some other ways that they manage their water as well. About 57% of Chandler's water comes from the Salt and Verde rivers. So they're not depending wholly on the Colorado River. I know we've seen those headlines as well that Arizona is basically sucking out all the Colorado water and everybody's going to be in trouble. They have alternative sources, so they're getting water from the Salt and Verde River. They collect groundwater, and one of the ways that they do that is most of the cities here in Arizona have these underground systems where they're gathering and storing water. So Chandler has about 20 to 30 years of stored water set aside at any given time. Chandler also has water conservation programs, one of them being, for example, I remember when we first moved here, we owned a landscaping company, and Chandler was one of the first cities that was encouraging homeowners to do a turf conversion. And what that is essentially is if you have grass in your yard, it's a high water usage for real grass. And so they were looking to encourage homeowners to convert that grass to either fake turf or a desert landscape, which if you haven't looked that up, here we call it xeriscaping. And if you're thinking, how on earth what is that? It's xeriscaping, xeriscaping. And the concept behind xeriscaping is to use more desert natural plants that are low water usage and have the tolerance for our weather swings is the long and short of that. So what Chandler was doing as part of their water conservation program is they were offering homeowners a rebate of a couple $100 to basically cover the cost of doing that conversion to encourage them to get rid of that grass so they could, again, have less water usage across the city as a whole. And then Chandler, like many other cities across the valley, has a goal of using reclaimed water. So there's just 100% usage and smart usage of the water that we have here in Arizona. Now, if you're looking for something to do indoors when you're visiting Chandler to determine if it's the right city for you, you'll want to be sure to stop by the Chandler Museum. They have 6 to 8 different exhibits every year. People love visiting the Chandler Museum. One of them right now is Marvelocity, and so I definitely know I need to take my boys there because they are all about Marvel. And then if you have any train lovers in your family, we also have the Arizona Railway Museum. Now, this museum has more than a dozen complete trains, and many of them they let you actually get on it. So a fun outing for the family. Now, jumping back to the housing side of things, the west side of Chandler, as I mentioned, kind of butts right up against, well, on the more northern west side, it butts up against the 101. And then as you go a little bit more south, it pushes out just a bit closer to the 10. Well, where it butts up against the 101, Chandler has the Chandler Fashion Center. They have over 180 retailers in this mall. This thing is sprawling, it's huge, and there is so much to do. In regards to, food items, we've got, our everyday go-tos like Buffalo Wild Wings, Zupas. Oh my goodness, love Zupas. If you get a chance to eat there and you haven't eaten there before, be sure to do it. It's just a fantastic hot sandwich place. So yummy. But then you have other basics like the Cheesecake Factory, P.F. Chang's, yummy. But then you have a little bit more upscale. So I love Cooper's Hawk Winery and Restaurant. If you haven't been there and you want to take your family out for a nice meal or a business associate, make sure to go over to Cooper's Hawk. They actually have a wine membership where for this membership, you get to go in. They have this really cool bar set up where you get tastings that you can go in and use as part of your membership every single month, which is so fun. But then their food is just delicious. As a matter of fact, I'm going over there next week. I can't wait with a good friend. And then of course they have Firebird's Wood Grill, also delicioso, just so good, yummy. And then for your basic retailers, there is, your Macy's, Dillard's, there's an Apple store, there's a Best Buy, there is Lululemon, J. Jill, Coach, there's a Barnes & Noble. You don't see that very much anymore. And they have a Build-A-Bear. I haven't seen a Build-A-Bear since my kids were like knee-high. And then we have Pottery Barn, we have White House Black Market. And then if you're like me and sometimes you just need to take it down a notch, you want to relax, take in a great movie, they also have Harkins Theater. Now Harkins is a family-owned movie theater here across Arizona. It's our favorite. We go home to Portland and we'll watch a movie there and it just doesn't feel the same. We really enjoy Harkins. And then how could I forget, for you sporting lovers, they have Shields. I've never heard of that until recently, but it's a new addition to the Arizona scene. Massive, huge sporting goods store called Shields, which is just very similar to me like the Bass Pro Shop, which is also a field trip in itself. Just so fun to go check those out. And I don't even do like sporting stuff, but for those of you who do, you can go hang out there while maybe the other half is in one of the other stores. Chandler Fashion Center also announced they'll be releasing an entertainment venue that will be called Round One. And this is going to be an all-in-house fun setup for things like bowling and billiards and ping pong and darts and karaoke. I will not be doing that. And an arcade. So no information on when the doors will open yet, but that will be coming soon as well. And then of course, if you're at Chandler Fashion Mall and you have littles with you, anywhere from the ages of say 3 to 9, you have got to check out the Crayola experience. I mean, you can't miss the building. It's huge, it's yellow, it's fun, it's crayons, but they have just under 20 hands-on attractions for you to take the kiddos to do. From all the reviews I could read, it sounds like you could spend hours there and just have a blast, and your kids will just play and play. And from all the online reviews I read, it sounds like you can spend hours there. And not only do you have a great time, but your kids have a fantastic time. This is over 20,000 square feet of hands-on, them getting to play with anything and everything that Crayola puts together, from, I believe it's Play-Doh to markers to paint to crayons, all kinds of experiences. So fun. So much so that they actually sell season passes. Go figure. And it's right here in Chandler, Arizona. Now, a lot of the homes near the Chandler Fashion Center you're going to find that they're, anywhere from the mid 500s and up typically. An example I'm going to show here will be an 1,800 square foot single story home with a pool. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. So pretty standard entry-level size home for a lot of people, and that is offered at about $550, just to give you an idea of what you might see for a starter home price near that Chandler Fashion Center. Now, this particular home is in an HOA. You're going to see a lot of HOA over in this area. So the city of Chandler has about 112,000 housing units. But as I mentioned earlier, at any given moment, they have anywhere from only 500 to 600 homes available. Now, of those 112,000 homes, about 72% of them are single family residences. So what does that mean? That means that 3/4 of the housing in Chandler is stick-built homes. They're not so much condos and townhouses. As a matter of fact, 21% are apartments, 5.5% are condos, so we really don't have a ton of condos there. And of that number, 1.8% are mobile homes. So it's a very small, very minute number. Whereas if we were to look at the stats in Mesa, we'd probably see a significantly higher number of mobile homes or manufacturers. Of course, anytime we talk about housing, we have to cover school ratings. It's just an important piece of information to know about the schools in the local area. So Chandler, overall, their general ranking is nearly always an A. It's one of the highest ranked school districts in Arizona. It's called the Chandler Unified School District. My own kids, 2 of my children, went to a Chandler Unified School, and we had great success with that school program and really enjoyed it. Now for my youngest, he was entering his junior year when COVID hit and obviously blew up everything that we knew about with school systems and what was happening for the kids and how that would look. And we got really lucky because Chandler has had a program in place for well over a decade called COA, and it's Chandler Online Academy. So at that time, for our youngest, rather than him having to figure out the new system that the Chandler school he was in was putting together, and everybody was kind of, just running by the seat of their pants while this was all happening, we swapped him over to COA, or Chandler Online Academy, because it had been an established program for so long, and he actually thrived. He did so well that we kept him in it the last year, his senior year, because he had always struggled just a little bit with school. It was a little challenging for him. He's on the quieter side. He wouldn't be the one to raise his hand and ask for help from the teacher, so he'd kind of just get passed on and not understand a topic. Well, with COA, he had the ability to basically just message the teachers whenever, and they did a self-paced course, so he could work on his schooling later in the day. So if he did need assistance with a complicated subject, we were available to help him with that instead of him having to be online at very specific times that the teacher was requiring. So COA was a very successful program for us with our youngest, and he actually ended up graduating with a significantly higher GPA, even though we could tell the course material was very robust. And that was super important for us because here in Arizona, if your kids graduate from high school in Arizona, having gone all 4 years, and they have a 3.0 GPA or higher, they automatically are granted a scholarship called the Lumberjack to NAU, or Northern Arizona University, up in Flagstaff. And so that was really exciting for us because he was our 3rd kid to be granted this scholarship, and it's a fantastic one. It doesn't cover room and board, but what it does cover is your entire tuition. It's about a $40,000 scholarship, and we were just thrilled that he was able to obtain that and bring his grades up, and I can't tell you how proud we were. Now, if the public school system here is still not for you, never fear, we have charter schools. When I first moved here, I was a little confused by this. I thought a charter school meant a private school we had to pay for, but that's not the case. You don't have to pay for charter schools. If you watch my other video, I actually go into pretty extensive depth on more information on how the charter schools work. Here in Arizona, a couple that come right to top is Great Hearts Academy is a big one here in Chandler. We have Legacy Tradition. There's Paragon Science Academy. And then of course, everybody here knows about Basis Charter School, as it is a highly sought after school in the area as well. Now, flipping back into some more housing components of our video, you're going to see a lot more of the higher price points, more South Chandler as a whole. The most expensive house that I had pull up in Chandler was just shy of $6.5 million. Woo! Woo! So if you are in need of a 14,000 square foot house with 7 bedrooms on over 5 acres, call me now. I'm your girl. I'll get you in there for a showing. But never fear, we have houses all the way from just shy of $20,000 for a mobile home, all the way up to that 6.5 million that I was telling you about. When I pulled up all the listings at the moment in Chandler, I was mentioning there's 578 homes in Chandler right now for sale. Only 74 of those were $1 million plus, essentially. And the least expensive single family home in Chandler was listed at $198,000. Now that $198,000 was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home, more towards that downtown area that I was telling you about earlier. As we go more south Chandler towards Hunt Highway and Riggs, that's where we're often going to see a bit pricier real estate in Chandler. So a couple communities you'll see pretty pricey is the subdivision called Ocotillo, Fulton Ranch. Ocotillo has a stunning, gorgeous golf course. Very expensive to play, but if you get an opportunity to do so, be sure to golf there. Just beautiful. And then of course we have Fulton Ranch, which has a man-made island in the middle. And then you have to go over a bridge to get there. You have to be at a couple $1 million to get on the island. But the outside of Fulton Ranch has beautiful, very nice homes. However, they are going to be, on the higher end price point, closer anywhere from probably the $700,000 to the $1 million mark, or maybe a little bit more. Now, if you're looking to get out and just hit some balls, you don't really need the high-end, pricier version, and you're just looking for more of an executive course, we also have Bear Creek in Chandler, and that's a great alternative option on the lower price point, of course. You've decided Chandler is where you're going to be. I'm so excited for you. It is a fantastic city, and there is so much to do. Not to mention, you're literally 10-15 minutes from so many other attractions in nearby cities, from Mesa to Gilbert to Phoenix, you name it. There is activities galore. And with that being said, it's important that you have an experienced realtor if you're looking in the Chandler area. And here's why. Most of the homes outside of the downtown area were built in the late 90s, the early 2000s, so you may encounter some older roofs, some older HVAC systems, which is a fancy way of saying AC. Yes, all of our homes, predominantly across the board here, come with AC. It's not something we have to ask for or negotiate, so that's good. But we do often have to inspect and negotiate and ask for is if there's issues with that AC, because we don't want you to discover it in the heat of July. So beyond the roof and the HVAC, another factor we need to pay attention to when we're shopping for homes in the Chandler area is some of the homes, not all of them, but many of them, have polybutylene piping, which can be a really big factor to check on, be concerned with, see if you're comfortable, if that's the home you fell in love with. And that's because these pipes were recalled a long time ago. However, so many homes were built with them that they just have them, but they're known to have a high failure rate. And unfortunately, because the pipes are all in the walls, if that pipe fails, well, you can imagine that's going to be a really, really nasty cleanup and pretty much a complete remodel job of wherever all that water got, exposed to. So that's another factor we're making sure that you're aware of, that we're checking on during inspections. We also may need to do in that particular area some sewer scopes, given that the property is a little bit older. These are all part of our step-by-step process as we help you through your purchase of a home, whether it's here in Chandler, Arizona, or a different part of the valley. Days, nights, or weekends. If you have questions, we're excited to help you, whether you land in Chandler, Arizona, or another part of the valley. We've got you covered.